All right, so you're looking to turn your single succulents into a mini oasis fast. Well, no worries, I got your back. Here's what I do to get more of these low maintenance cuties around, and here's how I make it happen in the shortest time possible. The aim for this is to kind of do it with minimal effort, the lazy person's guide. I can get pretty lazy. Actually, no. I used to run my own theatre company to the point of burnout, so I'm actually one of the hardest working people I know. When my focus is needed in a specific area, I'll deliberately ease up on other tasks that can afford less attention. Make sense? This is one of them. We're impatient, we're busy, and sometimes we're just feeling low on energy. And there are other things in our life that need our time and focus. So, this is the Lazy Peeps guide to multiplying suckers and filling those gaps. Yay! Let's roll the opening. Hang on. I'm just gonna pull out some weeds while we chat. Just a couple of things to note. In order to see faster growth, you really gotta do this during growing season. Just work with the plant's sense of time and seasons, like help them help you kind of thing. Oh, yes. One onion weed. That was a big one. Now, some succulents are winter dormant and some succulents are summer dormant. This information will be all over the internet, so I'm not going to cover it here. Just make sure you know which growing season is applicable for which plant. The second thing I want to note is that I am talking about softer succulents here, not cacti. New cacti growth and offsets generally only happen once during the full cycle of seasons, and of course there are exceptions. And I know that there are things that people do to make their cacti grow faster, like fertilizer, watering lots. I just don't do those things. To me, it runs the risk of overwatering and rot. So no cacti in this video. There are 4 things that I do to fill out a gap or a pot. We're going to talk about making cuttings but resetting them alongside the stems of the same plant, just so you can keep the look as like one whole plant. We're going to talk leaf propagation, but not in the way you see it on TikTok or Instagram. We're going to look at which succulents grow faster, and I'm going to give you a list of the ones that have performed well for me over time. And lastly, keeping the soil healthy, because that's just the key to growth. Tip number 1, make cuttings but keep the stems. Most of you already know this because it is the easiest thing in the world, but if you're doing this in a garden bed, I like to reset the cuttings in a way that just makes the plant still look whole. So here we have Sedum adolphi. I do like the way this is spilling out over the rocks, and this is actually the kind of effect that I'm going for. But you know, there's some gappy patches over here, and I want it to look full and I want it to look lush. So what I'm gonna do is be really strategic as to what I'm gonna cut and then reset it so it still kind of looks like a bushy plant. What you'll find is that the cuttings will take root in the soil, but you'll also get little propagates coming out of the stems and eventually making new rosettes. For example, you can see that there is a rosette happening there along that stem. So there's a couple of little propagates coming out of those stems here. You can also see some like rotten leaves. I don't think these are going to do anything. Oh, actually, I don't know. That could still produce a baby. Anyway, that's tip number 2, and I'm not getting to that just yet. There's already some new plantlets coming up here. You're not going to be able to see this, but there's like a little propagate right here. So what I'm going to do is just cut above that. Okay, so that's opened up an even bigger gap, but just hold on. I am not going to bother hardening that off. I don't really need to in my climate, so that's just going to go straight into the ground. And I'm going to put that kind of here. So we still get the rosette kind of climbing this rock here. That's going to do 2 things. You already have another plant in the ground, so to speak, and you've got the original plant now giving its energy to this little propagate here on the stem, which is better than having both this plant and this baby compete for energy, nutrients, etc. And that I think is going to grow out really nicely. I'm going to do the same thing along here, so you might, I don't know if you'll be able to see that from here, but there's 2 babies along this stem. I'm just going to cut it here. I will not harden it off, and then I'm just going to cover up this gap. Look at that. So this cutting is now also sheltering those propagates from the elements like harsh sun, so on and so forth. I'm also just going to chop this one right back, so I'll leave a little bit of a stem, that, and then, no, I'm going to go even further. Resetting that. Shall I chop this? Yes, I will. So that stem is staying there, right there. And there's a long enough stem that I can kind of have it hugging against this rock, but also reaching into the soil. Shall I do one more? Yes. So the stem is still there, it's tucked away, it's protected, it can grow more babies now, and I've also got these cuttings hugging a little bit closer to the original plant. I think that looks good. I really like this drooping down, so I'm not going to touch this. I want this to like grow long. I'll also say that when chopping, you can put cinnamon on the ends of these stems in order to deter infection, but for these little branchy succulents, I don't bother. I might do it if I were doing a head chop on a larger Echeveria or Aeonium. Lazy, 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 lazy. How lazy can you be with this? That's the brief. Let's do another one. What can we chop? I'm going to take some cuttings from these blue chalk sticks and put them in another spot. This Euphorbia milii is getting cramped, so my first priority is to remove the ones closest to that, just so it can breathe. There we go. And maybe this one. Oh gosh. All right. Okay. And I might just give it a bit more space. There we go. Okay. This might be looking a little bit bare now, but there'll be new growth that comes up over the top of that. Don't you worry. Okay. So this is another area of the garden where I want the blue chalk sticks to kind of be abundant. What I'm aiming for here is kind of like this waterfall of blue chalk sticks cascading over these rocks. These are cuttings and they look a little depleted because there's no protection here. The most ideal thing would be to keep cuttings in the shade, which is easy enough to do for, you know, cuttings that are going into pots. But if they're in a garden bed, I don't worry about it so much. These blue chalk sticks are really tough plants, so I have no doubt that they will bounce back. Just peeling some of the leaves off the bottom so I can create a little stem that can sit in the soil. Take out this bloom. And I'm just going to chop these ones a little bit more. Come on, stand up for me. There we go. Yes, very good. Okay, so what am I going to do with these stems? I am going to keep them as part of this garden bed. I'm just going to make sure that they can sit in the soil nicely. But if you can like sneak them in relatively unnoticed, like why not? I just put that behind the golden barrels. I'm going to remove all of the leaves. All. So that's that. And I'm just going to put it here where you can hardly notice it. So that's just hiding there. You essentially get another plant. I might actually just turn it this way so it's, yeah, maybe like that. I mean, like you'd have to look really closely to see that. So that's the stem there. I'm going to do it with this one as well. There you go. I don't think I'm going to even be able to notice that in a week. Look, and if these don't survive, that's fine. It's just one way that you can add more growth to your garden without buying a whole new plant. I want to do this one as well. This is the sedum gold I planted in the last video. There's already a whole bunch of babies growing at the bottom there. But if I remove these rosettes here, there's going to be more energy just going into growing those little babies. And I'll have new plants from resetting these rosettes. This is a really tough sedum, so I'm not too worried about these cuttings being in the sun. I'm going to try and cut the stem down here so it's a little bit hidden, and then gosh, this is a good hearty rosette. This can just kind of like go in there, and I'll do the same with these and these. You will hear me say this again and again, but I personally love a really stalky succulent. In this case, I kind of want like lots of rosettes spilling out, so I'm trying to get it to that stage first. Like I can barely even see that. There you go. Maybe So again, I'm going to keep that original plant, cut this. Should I put it here? Oh, that's cute. Yeah. And again, you can barely notice the stalk. Yeah. Oh, come on. Yeah, I am going to leave this one here so that this can kind of like branch out. Should this go? No, it should go here. There we go. Yeah. Yes, I won't touch it anymore. Just don't chop at the height of summer when it's like 40 degrees C. I've found the best time to do this is either spring or autumn. And after that, if you can't survive, then you can't be in my garden. I'm sorry. Lazy, 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 lazy. Let's keep it lazy. Tip number 2, shelter leaf props under established plants. I won't do trays of leaf props, you guys, like the tray and the spray. Like, no, I don't have room for the extra clutter. Putting the leaves up on a string, I can't. And I'm not judging anyone who does this, but I've got laundry to do and a life to get on with, you know? I just don't have time. What I do, because I'm 5, what I do is if there are any leaves that I've pulled off from stems or if they've just fallen off, I'll put them under more established plants so they can get some shade while growing. And if the leaf decides that it wants to produce a baby, then it's got some protection from the harsh elements so it can grow. I know that if I put them in a tray, they're all just gonna die. If it's in a tray, it just doesn't exist in my mind. Leaving them in the garden bed under another plant is the only way I've been able to do leaf props. My dad does leaf props in trays, but you know, he's retired. Let me show you what I mean. This is Echeveria Pearl von Nürnberg. Already has a baby here, but what you cannot see is that under here, I put 2 PVN leaves. Can you actually see that? Let me just see if I can zoom in. Zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, zoom in. Oh, there you go. Here are 2 leaf props that I've just decided to place here. They're being sheltered by the PVN and this agave here. So they're growing quite nicely. And, you know, I'll be able to pull those out and give them their own spot. But in the meantime, being in this spot is the only reason that they've survived. This one here is a Sedum Vera Higgins. So many of these rosettes are about to bloom. You can just tell. There, can you see it? 1 leaf prop. And there's more leaf props just lying on the ground there. Oh, and there's like one of the bigger ones down here. And we're back in this spot because these are all the Sedum Adolphi leaves that I've pulled off these plants here, these cuttings. What we can do is just tuck a couple of them like underneath there, maybe a few more just like here, and they'll be sheltered. Not all of these are gonna survive. There's just no way. With leaf props, the most chunky ones are probably gonna produce babies. There are some little thin ones like this one, the one on the left is a lot smaller, thinner, drier than this plump one here. So the chances of this producing a baby are not very high in my opinion, but you know, it doesn't hurt to just chuck it somewhere. So these ones here, I'm gonna chuck them in between the Lavender French Revolution and this Echeveria Blue Metal here. There they go. I mean, wouldn't that be fun just to have like a nice pop of yellow coming out from there? And then I'd really be adhering to the rule of 3s with the Adolphi. 1, 2, and then potentially a 3rd right there. Wow, new outfit, new day. It's quite an overcast day, guys, and the mornings are still quite chilly here. Moving on. I just walked through a spider web. Tip number 3, acquire plants that grow quickly. Yes, it's that simple. Now, generally succulents are still succulents. You can't expect them to grow like bamboo, but not all succulents grow the same. So if you're looking for something to fill those gaps and spread out, then opt for the faster growing varieties. Echeverias. Not all Echeverias grow fast, but here are some that act like clumpers in my garden at least. Echeveria Violet Queen. This one will pop a lot in the right conditions. You see here that there's a lot of babies happening. Violet Queen, Violet Queen, Violet Queen. Blue with pink edging. You should see it in winter. Echeveria Hera, my beloved Hera. This has to be one of the prettiest plants I know. It's got the blue leaves, pink edging thing, but when it gets stressed, it turns like this brilliant pink. And she's a clumper. I get a lot of new babies out of this plant. Elegans. Echeveria elegans. I'm gonna say this about every plant, but this is one of my favorites. Some of these coming out here, they might be blooms and not pups, but it will pup a lot. Like, that surely is a pup down there. A pup here, a pup here. It multiplies quickly, especially in the right growing conditions. This produces so many pups that I have been able to put this all over my garden. Look, I've got it here as well. Can you see that? Just hugging up against that rock. Focus, please. There we go. Yeah, there's more growing there. Isocephalum is in that though. Can you see that? And these get quite big as well. Like, you don't get a sense of the scale on camera, but like, here's my hand. No, you can't really see. Never mind. I've been able to take some of the smaller pups and put them here, 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 and I think over here as well, just under the lavender. And they're just gonna keep growing and multiplying. Onion weed right there. Echeverias that are kind of like this, like the name of this variety has escaped me, but they generally don't pup a lot. You wanna go for the varieties that I've already mentioned. Something like bee's knees. I mean, look how many babies are coming out. Like there are babies. Come on, nope, hang on. I'm just gonna use my tongue to like move stuff around. Can you see? And look, there's some more like there. So many babies, so many. And I bet you there's like more in the underskirts around here. This is Echeveria pulidonis. I don't know, I think I've got something for blue-green leaves with pink edges. This one also has a lot of growth, as you can see here. This was so much smaller when it was in a pot on my old balcony. But now look at it grow. A good clumper, pulidonis. This is a pulidonis that is not in the greatest of shapes. I pulled this out of a pot, but I just want to see if it'll go in another spot. All right, a quick planting detour. I think this will work. I'm gonna remove all of this super gritty soil. Also just removing the underleaves. Ooh. So I'm gonna do this one a little bit differently. I'm gonna chop this down here so these two will stay intact. I just wanna make sure that I keep this stalk with the roots as well, with some of the roots. So, I mean, kind of. I was hoping for a bit more, but doesn't matter. It'll be fine. Okay, I'm gonna plant these two here because that's a nice little vignette hugging against these rocks. Move it a bit over here. Okay, then, feels a little bit rotten to me. So this in the center here doesn't look the healthiest. Brown might suggest rot. I am gonna plant this up, but I probably will, maybe I'll put some cinnamon on it and I'll let this harden off before putting this in the ground. Oh, there's a spider in it. Look, if it doesn't survive, I've got two other plants here, you know? You can barely notice the stump. All right, I can't find the cinnamon, so I'm going to have to go to the store and buy some a bit later. I'm gonna probably pop it here, because that's cute. And when it hardens off, I'm gonna also just put some of this rooting hormone gel just to help it a little bit along. This is starting to turn into not so lazy propagating, so we're gonna move on. I also now just have a whole bunch of these leaves. You know what? I'm gonna put it right under that kalanchoe. There you go. Just do what you need to do. I also know that Echeveria minima, is a really good one to get as well, a clumper. I did have one when I was living in the apartment. I don't know what happened to it. I think it might have gotten fried in the summer, but that is also one that will give you a lot of offsets quickly. And you might also get lucky with some hybrids. This, for example, is a hybrid that we got from Roraima Nursery in Melbourne. It didn't come with a name. I think this is just the results of an experiment that the nursery owner was doing, but it's producing so many offsets down here, around here, in the middle there, up here. You're doing well, whatever you are. And we're about to get a bloom, which I have never seen. A unique Etchy hybrid bloom. Sedums can grow quite abundantly as well. So the Sedum Adolphi that we worked with earlier in the video, they're great. I also have Sedum Firestorm throughout my garden as well. The Adolphi and the Adolphi Firestorm, they're quite similar. The Firestorm does come up a little bit more orange when stressed. One that I used to have but don't have anymore is the Sedum Morganianum, Burro's Tail or Donkey's Tail. It's a trailer, it's beautiful, and it colors up nicely with winter. Another sedum that will grow quite quickly. It did get scorched by the summer sun, which is why I think I lost it. Yeah. Wow, another outfit change because it was getting too hot. Next on the list, Sediveria. Oh, I can see some clover. No, I didn't get it by the roots. Come on. There we go. Now, this one is a freaking clumper. You can see the tiny babies that are growing here. There's little ones just popping up everywhere. Like here, here, here. I don't know if you can see that. There's a baby. I would say that this is probably the fastest growing clumper in my collection. And you know what? These little rosettes, they turn a brilliant bright red when they're really stressed. In winter, it's just the most adorable thing ever and really super tough as well. Like, I'm pretty sure that I've put cuttings of these out in the rain and I've never seen one rot. Super tough, super gorge, Sediveria Laetitia. This one I think is Sediveria Marcus. It could be one of two different Sediveria. I think the other one is Sediveria Maiden or something like that. I think Sediverias are clumpers. So if you want rosettes like this, bushing out, get a Sediveria. And again, super tough. Sediveria is a hybrid between, guess which two plants? Correct, Echeveria and Sedum. So I guess these plants get the best of both worlds. Look, little, too little. And another little one here. Why? Oh, there's a weed. Get out. Like, look at all the little babies just waiting to get bigger. Ugh, it's too much. Kalanchoes, or calantros if you prefer. Kalanchoes grow so fast that some are considered weeds depending on what Australian state you're in. This one is called Kalanchoe tomentosa. tomentosa, or panda plant as it's commonly known. It's not invasive, but it does bush out to a pretty good size. You can see all the little bulbs just constantly growing. I love touching it because it's just so fuzzy. Lavender scallops. I do really love this one. It has a more complicated botanical name, which I'm not even going to try and pronounce, but the color combo of this one, oh my lord. Like these orange flowers against the purple. Are you kidding me? These are in a pot. Just excuse all the weeds and the crappiness. I do need to tidy this up. So this one is considered a weed in, I think, Queensland. It isn't in New South Wales, but it does get pretty invasive, which is why I kind of keep it in a pot. It will grow everywhere. Oh, and in true Kalanchoe breeding style, can you see the little babies on the edges of the leaves here? Yeah, that's how they multiply. Just take care with Kalanchoe because some of the varieties will get everywhere. I also had another one that I loved. I think it was called Kalanchoe candy cane, like deep red Kalanchoe leaves. I'm not too sure what happened to it. I think the plant was like really struggling after our La Nina year. I should try and find it again, actually. If you are in New South Wales, do not ever, 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 ever do not plant Mother of Millions. It is a weed and it is banned in this state. Highly invasive. I had friends who came across this in their yards and they had to incinerate Mother of Millions. They had a burning ceremony for it. That's how bad it is. So yeah, Mother of Millions, just no. Yay, I thought I was filming, but I didn't hit record. Okay, let's do all of that again. Euphorbia. This is a euphorbia, and you don't normally think of euphorbias bushing out. Well, I mean, that's a euphorbia, and that's a bush. And this is a euphorbia, and that's a bush too. But this one, when we get these in nurseries, they're like so tiny and small and statuesque. We can't even imagine them kind of like multiplying. But these grow pretty fast, and if you were ever in Australia and you go to cactus country, you will see how big these get. Massive, massive, massive. I planted this here a couple of videos ago, and I don't want to dig this up now, but at the back of this euphorbia, you could see all these little babies starting to grow at the bottom of the plant. So, you know, it just grows faster than what you would normally think a euphorbia would grow. I have another one here, and this one desperately needs a repot, and I'll get around to it when I have time. This one's a Euphorbia anoplea. I'm pretty sure that if I repotted this in new soil, it would just explode with growth. So many little ones. It's really going for gold. Look at these triplets at the back there. And look at the pattern on this. Like, how beautiful is that? You did good, nature. Ground covers. Chalk sticks in particular, which we already worked with earlier in this video. These exploded over winter, by the way. I didn't touch this, I didn't water, and then I came outside in August and was like, what are you doing? This is my dream. These ones went in as cuttings as well, just before winter. So, you know, they find their way. The other ground cover that I'd recommend is pigface plant, and we do have a native pigface plant here in Australia as well. I don't have this in my garden at the moment, but I used to on the balcony of my old apartment. It's a pretty hardy plant, and when the flowers pop up, it's like Sunshine Central. Very colorful, very festive looking. I think I really neglected it, which is why it didn't do well. And lastly, aeoniums. So while aeoniums are summer dormant, there are some varieties that do bush out. I do find aeonium sunburst, this beauty here, to be one of them. This is pretty fast growing for an aeonium. I also find the sunburst variety to be pretty hardy during the summer. Like, I left this here all summer and it's sitting right next to a whole bunch of euphorbias because I liked the composition. I know people have commented like, why are you putting two plants in the same pot that have different watering needs? I get it, and I wouldn't do it with any other plants, but I find that this one deals with it okay. I'm putting it together because I like this arrangement. I like the color combo. Do what you want, it's your garden. The other aeonium that I think bushes out pretty well is Aeonium kiwi tricolor. Gorgeous plant. I had some that I lost to root mealy, but very beautiful color and pretty hardy throughout all of the seasons as well. I had it in the same pot as a cactus, again, different watering needs, but it did fare pretty well until that pot got attacked by root mealy. So yeah. And tip number 4 is to keep the soil healthy. This might be a little bit of a step up in terms of effort, but I do it as part of my regular routine, so it doesn't make that much of a difference to me. I've already done my fertilizing for early spring, but what I will continue to do regularly is use soil conditioners. Sea salt isn't a fertilizer, so you can apply it more often. I mix it in with go-go juice, which I call poo juice because that's what it smells like. By the way, because I apparently live in a bubble, I thought sea salt was this magically universal product that was used everywhere in the world, and it's not. It's an Australian product product, so go us. Australian made and owned, it says it right here, and I've never noticed that. But for my international friends, sea salt is a seaweed concentrate, and I am sure you have your US or international equivalents. Go-Go juice is a liquid probiotic teeming with beneficial microbiology and is essentially a probiotic for your soil and plants. The resultant product provides your soil and plants with a huge boost of the living microbiology necessary for them to perform at their optimum level, increasing their ability to resist pest and disease and to withstand heat and frost stress. That's good copy. I'm up for that. Anyway, this combo was suggested by a local grower who had the healthiest, most beautiful succulents I'd ever seen, so I'm really happy to just copy and paste his advice. Sea salt and go-go juice. In my springtime chores video, I think I only put 10 mils of each into this 9-litre watering can, but that's because I was adding fertilizer as well. This time I'm gonna go more towards what's recommended. So for a 9-litre watering can, 20 mils of sea salt and just under 40 mils of go-go juice. It's 40 mils for 10 litres, so I'll go just a little bit under. Don't breathe. Oh, still not breathing. Oh! Whoops, did you see that? Watering accident with the hose. This view. And there you have it. You are well on your way to a thriving succulent oasis. Remember to keep it easy and enjoy the process. Thanks for hanging out with me. Happy propagating, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.